Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Hi, everyone. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm your host, Lee Brecheen. We got a great guest today. To me, one of the best young coaches in the state of Louisiana, Chris Towery, the head football coach at Sulphur High School. That's right, Sulphur High School. A lot of tradition. They call them the Tours, which is short for Tornadoes, is their mascot at Sulphur. The blue and gold. A lot of tradition. A lot of coaches that have coached at Sulphur became McNeese State head coaches over the years. And so we want to go ahead and welcome head coach Chris Towery to the show. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me today, Lee.
I remember meeting you. I had to count the date, Coach, but it was close to 20 years ago now. I met you when you were at Central High School back in the day.
It's been about 15 years. That was 2007, so it's been close to 15 for sure. Time flies when you're getting older.
That's right. I remember you as an offensive genius. Everybody that I would talk to would say, look, Chris knows offenses in and out. And I remember you had some history coaching at Houston Cougars, the college football team, at a very young age. And then I know you went to Tyler Junior College and coached. And now you're at Sulphur High School. What's it like to be back in Louisiana, Chris?
Well, it's awesome to be closer to home. One of the things when I was at Tyler, my wife, we're all from South Louisiana. Well, I'm from Pineville, but she's from South Louisiana. And, we're real family oriented and, wanting to be back close to home and closer to my wife's family and to her mom and stuff played a real big factor in us coming back to Louisiana.
The tradition, yeah. I mean, and look, I want to mention this before we go to a break, but, you were in Louisiana when these two hurricanes came through and it affected your family. But what is your thoughts now that, the community, I see that, I went through about 8 months ago and there were still tarps on the top of houses. But, I mean, the strength of the people in the Lake Charles and Sulphur, Westlake area, the resiliency that you saw firsthand, it affected you and your family and your house. But what is your thoughts on that moving forward?
Well, you're in a blue collar area. The people of Southwest Louisiana are extremely. And when we came back here 2 days after Laura hit, we'd evacuated for 2 days and we drove back into town. It was like nothing you'd ever seen before. The destruction, cars rolled over on their side, just the destruction and the things that happened in the town. Nothing that I sure. And to watch the people in Southwest Louisiana and Sulphur, especially where we are, do what they had to do to keep moving life was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about your team, your current seniors, and later in the show we'll talk about some of the young guys. You got a lot of guys coming back, a lot of stuff to build with, and we'll talk about the history of the school. Get your thoughts on recruiting in Lake Charles. There's a lot of good football players in the area, different high schools there, not just for football but for baseball. We'll be back with more of head coach Chris Towery, head coach of Sulphur High School. We'll be right back. Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you. Welcome back. You listen to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm your host, Lee Brecheen. Our guest is Chris Towery, the head coach of Sulphur High School. Coach, I mean, you had a small senior class, but a bunch of tough guys this year. You had some guys like Emmanuel Brady, Kylan Kelly, D. Lyman, Taggart, Stelli. You had a big tight end, Caleb Vizier, who's been offered by McNeese, 6'4" tight end, 235 pounds. What did you think of this small senior class this year and what they brought to the team?
Well, one of the things with a small senior class coming out of the hurricane year where we only played 5 games, we basically played no JV games that year, was there was a lot of inexperience on both sides of the ball. We had a lot of starters back from that 2020 team on defense. Offensively, we had almost nobody back. So trying to get these guys that haven't played a lot of football to play football at a high pace and high speed was kind of a work in progress. And it took some time, and we had to work through some things. And, when you don't play, I mean, you can simulate everything you want in practice. You can try to make practice as game-like as possible. And we try to do a good job of that at Sulphur, just like everybody else does. But it's still never as fast as it is until you play the game.
Yeah.
So having all these young guys playing this year was a work in progress, but I couldn't be more proud of how they handled themselves, how these few seniors that we had led these guys into the season. The expectations for this team was not very high. We were not supposed to be very good. I'm not saying that we were really great or anything like that, but I promise you these kids came out and they performed way better than most people gave them credit for. Predicted to be last in the district, ended up finishing third, made the playoffs. Really, really outstanding small group of seniors.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, we want to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about your district, how tough it is, these teams you play. I mean, it's every week it's a war. And talk about the teams and what you think of the talent in the district you're in, which is some good players, good teams, great coaches. We'll be back with more of Chris Towery, head coach of Sulphur High School. If you need a paint job or repairs to your vehicle, go see Medine's Collision Center, located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on Kincaid Avenue. The number to call is 357-7983. That's 357-7983. Your Baton Rouge Accident Advisors. Welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm your host, Lee Brecheen. Our guest is Chris Towery, the head coach of Sulphur High School. I want to give a shout-out to one of our sponsors who's not far from Sulphur High School, Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has freshwater and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours located south of Lake Charles. Call 337-598-2357. That's 337-598-2357. And Chris, have you had a chance to go to the Gros Savon yet? I know you probably like to hunt and fish.
I like to fish. I'm not a big hunting guy. I have not, but that intrigued me. I'm sure that would be a place that I would love to go check out. I can tell you that.
I went one time, and we caught over 150 bass in 2 hours.
Wow.
Incredible, man.
That's crazy. That's incredible. That really is.
Coach, talk about your district, getting back to Sulphur High School. Talk about some of the teams. I've seen these teams over the years, and now you're facing them every week. But, I mean, you got the Barbs, and, you'll play a Como, a Lafayette High. I mean, you got all kind of talent, Karen Crow every now and then. What do you think of this district?
Well, the district just got tougher adding Karen Crow in there for sure. We were at 18 district the last 2 years, and then this year now we're going to be a 9-team district, which makes scheduling kind of crazy. Karen Crow adding to this district is just another team with good coaching and really good talent that you've got to deal with on a weekly basis. Obviously Acadiana is Acadiana. They've been the bell cow of this district for a while. They have a lot of really, really good football players that you have to line up against on a weekly basis. Southside had a good bit of talent this year. We played them tough and had a chance to win that game. Just couldn't pull it out in the end. And that would have put us second in the district. Lafayette High has done a good job of resurging under Coach Figueroa and kind of getting back into the swing of things. Como's always got a few players, and then over here in our area, Byrd, Jamal Levi, the wide receiver this year. I mean, one of the best players I've seen in a long time, and they've got plenty of other talent. And we had a track meet with them last year, 35-31. We were able to pull it out, but it was a heck of a ball game. Coach Cotrera does a good job of coaching. Sam Houston had some injuries that got to him this year, but they've got a young head coach in Chad Davis that I think is going to do a really, really good job there. They do some really good stuff on offense. Freshman quarterback threw it around pretty good for them this last season. So look for them to make a resurgence this next year too. It's tough. I mean, it's a tough deal where you have to line up on a weekly basis and face these teams week in, week out. A lot of people will say the district was down a little bit last year. We only got 4 teams in the playoffs. And, it's still a grind. It's still a grind. And when you got to play, 8 district games, You got to find a bye week. We have to play Destrehan next year, week 8, because that's the only team we can find open week 8 to come to us.
Wow.
So not only do we have our district, but we have Destrehan coming here week 8, which, I mean, Destrehan's Destrehan, loaded with talent. I know they lost a lot of players off this year's team, but they'll reload with talent, a lot back too. So it's, and with us, we're more blue collar. We're not big, we're not fast. We've got a lot of great kids that work hard, and they're coachable, and it allows us to do some things on both sides of the ball schematically because they are coachable. That helps us out. So it's just a grind. It's a grind every week to face the caliber of teams and coaching that you're going to face in this district.
I want to mention this before we take a break. Southside High School, Coach Fontenot does a good job, but people don't realize this. You know this, but Coach Southside averages 280 pounds on their OD line. They got most of those guys are 6'2", and they wrestle 100 kids. I mean, people don't realize that about Southside.
Well, yeah, exactly. We played them this year, and they're playing their home games at Turlings. So we go to Turlings to play them, and I'm looking at them, and, because you break down film on your opponents, but film, it never puts the eye as far as the physicality or the size of some of these guys until you actually get out on the field and see them. And I'm looking at them in pregame. I'm like, oh my God, how are we going to play? We got two 5'6" guards starting for us. And I remember the day after the game, I'm in there grading film, and I'm looking at the end zone shot of us getting ready to line up for an offensive play against them, and our 5'6" guard is standing straight up, and they're 6'3", whatever, 295-pound defensive tackle standing up across from them, and it just it's crazy. It's crazy looking, like how, But we were right there. We were up in the second half, had a chance to win. Just made a few mistakes in the second half, and and they did some good things, and all credit to Coach Fontenot and them for getting the victory.
And a lot of those guys are coming back. Coach, we're going to take a break. Before we take a break, I want to mention that Sulphur High School was first established in 1913. I didn't know that, Coach. I looked that up today. That's a long time. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the famous people that have come out of Sulphur High School. I cheated. I went to Wikipedia, Chris, but I got it. And some interesting people that, there's an actor I want to mention. I didn't watch soap operas, but we'll mention that too when we come back. We'll be back with more Chris Towery, head coach of Sulphur High School. Be sure to take your car and truck for all your tire needs to Treads and Care Tire Company located in Central. The number to call is 331-8144. Family owned and operated since 1971. That's Treads and Care Tire Company. Welcome back to the Sports Scouting Report. You're listening to Lee Brecheen. I'm the host, and Chris Towery is our guest, head coach of Sulphur High School. I want to thank another sponsor of ours, Medine's Collision Center. They're on Kincaid Avenue in Baton Rouge. Please give them a call at 357-7983. Chris Medine, Dominica Medine, or Jesse Medine can help you, and they'll get you right back. They'll get you right back on the road and get your car right with phenomenal paint jobs and whatever else you need. Medine's Collision Center. Coach, some famous people that have come out of Sulphur High School. It's like a run of baseball players. I know you're a football coach, but Casey Daigle, Arizona Diamondbacks, Pat Rapp, San Francisco Giants, John Thompson, Kansas City Royals, J.T. Shorgus, Tampa Bay currently went to Rice University. All these guys were pitchers. And currently, Gage Trahan, tight end for Houston Cougars, who's a pretty good player.
Yeah. I've met Pat Rapp and Casey Daigle. Casey Daigle's son, Ace, is a freshman for us right now.
All right.
So Casey Daigle and Jenny Finch, that's their son. He's a freshman, tight end for us, and also obviously a baseball player. Pat Rapp, know him, have met him really well. Really great guy. I've not met any of the other ones you talk about. I've met Gage Trahan. Gage Trahan will come back and work out every once in a while. Outstanding young man. Very talented. I think he's going to have a shot of being an NFL football player. Great guys, but there's some tradition at our place, that's for sure.
And one other famous person. I don't know this person, but I know a lot of people, especially moms and maybe some dads. But if you watch the Young and the Restless, the original crew, Janice Lindy was a graduate of Sulphur. She was on One Life to Live and Another World, Coach. I Hey, I got to throw it out there. I mean, a lot of people watch those shows, right?
I did not know that. I did not know that. That's you taught me something right there, Lee. That's pretty good information.
Pretty good. The rival, and would you agree to this? It says the rival currently is Barb. Would you say that would be the rival locally?
That is the rivalry game. It's a big deal. I actually, it's my first experience with it because the first year I was here, Barb didn't play after the hurricane. We didn't get a chance to play him. So this year's game was my first experience with, being the head coach of the Sulphur Barb rivalry.
We're going to be back with more. Take a break. We'll come back, Coach. I want to talk about some of you young guys. Not put them in a box as far as prospects, but just talk about some guys. I'm going to just throw a bunch of guys out. I saw on film what your team played, just guys that you had back. And one young man is David Lafleur's son, former LSU first-round pick, Dallas Cowboys, and get your thoughts on him. And then at the end, I want to get your thoughts on Coach Kelly at LSU, DeSarmo at UL, and the new head coach at McNeese State right in your backyard, Coach Goff. Get your thoughts on those new coaches in the state, and also Southern's new coach and Grambling. And look, Coach, there's so many new coaches. We're about to name every Louisiana college almost got a new head coach. We'll be back with more Chris Towery in just a minute. Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life. Welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm your host, Lee Brecheen. Our guest today is Chris Towery, Sulphur High School. Coach, a lot of young guys play this year, which is always good when they're coming back the next year, got their feet wet, cut their teeth, as they say, to get experience in this tough district. Just some guys I saw play for you: John David Lafleur, Caden Blaylock, Jonathan Hopkins, Ashton Austin, Dylan Byrd, Tyler Macy, good-looking player, Grayson Stelli, Peyton Lemaire, good-looking player, Cole Navarre. Just a few guys to mention: Corey Hyatt and Ethan Piaz, the punter kicker, Dawson LeBrun, Keegan Trim, D-tackle, Gage Trahan. Here's just a few guys. What do you think of that group coming back, Coach?
I think they're outstanding. First of all, it's an outstanding group of young men. Let's start there. And what gives us a chance to be successful is the guys that play for us. And those guys, they come out every day, and they're pretty coachable guys. In 2022, there's a lot of things that go on societal wise, and there's a me attitude in this world, I find.
Yeah.
A little bit of, me first and that kind of stuff. And we don't really have that problem at our place. Our guys are team players, and they're great young men. And I think the world of all those guys, and it's going to be really good to have those guys back with the fact that they got a whole season under their belt.
Yeah. What do you think of John David Lafleur? He's really young, going to only be a sophomore, but you talking about not having a lot he is one of the big guys, young guys on your team.
He's, definitely got some lineage to him, obviously being David Lafleur's son. He's all of 6'7", 240 pounds right now. We played him a lot as a freshman when we'd get into some of our 12 personnel stuff with him and DJ in the game together. Big upsides, playing basketball right now, which I think is really good for him, and having some success on the basketball court as a freshman on the varsity basketball team. So his upside is going to be good. Has mitts for hands. I mean, he doesn't drop anything. Obviously as he gets older and we get him in the weight room more and he gets in there and he starts physically developing, he's going to be a force in the run game blocking, and he's going to be hard to defend in the passing game. I can tell you that. Sounds
like he's going to be a twin of his dad, who ended up being 280, in the end.
He's going to be a big kid. There's no doubt about that.
David was 6'7", 280 for the Cowboys. They listed him 275 at LSU as a tight end. Coach, very impressed with Peyton Lemaire and also Tyler Macy and guys like that, Grayson Stelli. What do you think of you got a lot of good-looking DBs and receivers coming back in this group?
We do. On both sides of the ball, we definitely do. You know, our secondary, some of those guys, Grayson Stelli started as a freshman in that district, in District 358. He started in 2020. That's Tag Stelli's little brother. Really confident player, really good football player. You know, you can put him out there on an island, and he's good in man coverage. I like his swagger. I like the way he goes about doing things. You got to kind of dial him in every once in a while because he likes to get a little hyped up and stuff, but he is an outstanding football player. Massey and Peyton Lemaire. Peyton Lemaire was our defensive MVP this year, which that was a tough choice to make because we had so many guys that were right there. Peyton made second team all district in 3-5A in that district, which is very DB loaded. You know, there's a lot of good defensive backs in our district. So for him to make second team, I thought was a very good compliment to him. You know, Tyler Massey is a big time playmaker for us. So got to get him healthy. He's battled through some lower body issues this year. Just had a surgery the other day. Hopefully we can get him recovered where he can really maximize his abilities his senior year. You know, Cole Navarre started for us last year in the secondary. He's playing basketball right now, another good young man. We've got a lot back. You mentioned Dylan Byrd and Corey Hyde, you know, our two inside backers last year, both of them outstanding football players. You know, Dylan's not going to – you're not going to look at Dylan and say, you know, wow, but he is tough.
Yeah. And
he's got a nose for the football. Like, he really does a good job. I think, you know, Dylan could probably play some small college football somewhere. He's that instinctive as a backer. You know, Corey's a state champion wrestler. He's a bigger physical guy. You know, he plays at about 210 during the season. Now he's at 195 right now because that's what he wrestles at. But he plays at about 210 pounds, runs in the 4.6 range. You know, I think he's somebody that, you know, is going to catch up on people defensively. You mentioned Keegan Trim. Mm-hmm. Okay, Keegan Trim is about 5'10", 240 pounds. If Keegan Trim was 6'3", everybody in the world would be all over Keegan Trim.
Yeah,
I can tell you that right now.
Tough kid.
Yeah, he is. We were in the weight room the other day it was an explosion day, and we were doing seated box jumps. We had 3 boxes stacked, and he came off that bench because we sit on a bench and we do the seated box jumps. And he went up on top of 3. It was about 36 inches, excuse me, not 36 feet, 36 inches of stacked boxes. And he went up on top of those boxes off that seat like it was nothing. He's very explosive, very explosive.
Hey, Coach, maybe try him at fullback this year.
Yeah, maybe if we use a fullback, if we use one, I might line up, put a run play in for him or something. But very explosive guy. You mentioned on offense, and we talked about John David. The receiving core, all 3 of those guys are going to be back this year. Jonathan Hopkins works his tail off. He really takes pride in trying to be a good route runner. Is turning into one of our team leaders. If you watch him in the weight room every day, he kind of tries to motivate everybody to make sure we're getting things done. Ashton Austin's a good little slot receiver for us. Really started to mature as the season went along. And then Caden Blaylock can run. Caden Blaylock is a sub 4.5 guy. Got to get more consistent in his route running and more consistent with his hands. But he can make some plays. He is a playmaker, you know, with screens, over the top, you know, a lot of things. I think Caden Blaylock's somebody that when it comes down to it, somebody's going to jump on him next year if he can continue to progress, because he can run well. He runs really well.
Yeah, he's smooth. Like you said, once he goes from raw to polished, he's going to be dangerous.
Yeah, and we're trying to coach him up. All those guys run track, which our track program, and Coach Judge, he does a really good job with our track program. And those guys are out there running track, and so they're gonna develop even more speed, you know, with what we do in the weight room, what Coach Judge does with those guys out on the track. You know, they're just going to continue to get better.
Coach, when we come back, one more segment. Want to mention, talk about your principal, David Poole, and then talk about all these new coaching hires. Get your thoughts on them. Your coaching opinion of these new coaches and their philosophies, what you know of them, and if you know any of these guys over the years, like Coach Kelly, LSU, DeSarmo, obviously UL. And McNeese State, Coach Goff, that came in from Valdosta State. You've already met with a couple of their coaches, but we'll be back in just a moment. We'll have more of head coach From Sulphur High School, Chris Towery. We'll be right back. Gage has served Louisiana for over 40 years. Let Gage create a custom-tailored solution for your business and become your partner in technology. Give them a call today at 225-753-4243 and help your business get better connected with Gage. Welcome back to the Sports Scouting Report. Our guest is Chris Towery, head coach of Sulphur High School. Before we get back to Coach, I want to thank some sponsors of ours that allow us to do this podcast. Treads and Care Tire Company. I want to appreciate Devin Holly. I know Coach Towery was at Central High School back in the day. This is in Central, and you can call them for anything you need, 331-8144. That's 331-8144, any of your tire needs. I want to thank Gage. Gage has been as a new sponsor of ours, serving Louisiana for over 40 years. They can custom tailor a solution for your business and become your partner in technology. Give them a call today at 225-753-4243. Again, that's 225-753-4243. And our original sponsor, we want to thank John Harvey Toyota. If you need a new or used car, which they've got it all. Harvey Autos has 3 dealerships. They're in Shreveport, Bossier City, certified pre-owned with a warranty, hybrids, luxury models. Give them a call. Tell them Lee sent you. Coach, we'll get back. What do you think of your principal, David Poole, and the job he's doing at Sulphur? I know that he's your guy, your boss, but would always like to mention the principals because, they're running the whole school and hiring everybody, and want to give you a chance to talk about David Poole.
Well, I'm going to talk about 2 more players real quick, too, that kind of dawned on me a second ago that I want to make sure I mention. Our quarterback, Gage Trahan.
Yes.
I think he's going to be, we gave him the captain's award as a junior, which is a big, big honor. He's that kind of kid. He's a McNeese baseball commit, but I'm going to tell you right now, he's a hell of a high school quarterback. And I think he's going to have a great year this next year. And then Dawson LeBrun, offensive lineman, he's 6'2", 275. Athletic as I'll get out. People get caught up in size and stuff like that at the next level. But I think, as an FCS football player, I think Dawson LeBrun would be a steal for somebody. You move him inside the guard, center, maybe something of that nature. I think he'd be a heck of a football player for those 2. And I just wanted to mention those guys because they're part of what makes us tick on offense. They're our players are what make us be able to do the things we do. They're coachable and they work hard. And, I always want to make sure that we mention those guys and the value that they bring to our football team, the value they bring to our program. Mr. David Poole, he hired me, when I was coming back from Tyler. He gave me this opportunity to be the head coach at a program like Sulphur, which is, we're trying to get back to a major force in the state, and it's a process, and it's a long process. You have to, you have to do things. You have to get your culture in place, and that's not saying that somebody else's culture is wrong or right. You just have to have your culture in place. You have to have your guys in place. You have to have your way of doing things. Mr. David Poole is an excellent leader for our school. He's a Sulphur grad. He loves Sulphur High School. He wants every program on our campus to be successful. He's a basketball guy. He played basketball at Sulphur. Used to be a basketball coach. Okay. But he wants us all. If I need something and it can be done, then he's going to find a way to get it done for me. And that's the same thing for all the sports on our campus. He wants those sports to be successful. He wants every program. He wants our band to be successful. He wants our Twisters dance team to be successful. He wants our cheerleading squad to be successful. It doesn't matter what it is. Mr. Poole wants all those things to be successful. Obviously he gave me this opportunity and I'm indebted to him for that. But in all honesty, he is a great leader for our school, and being a principal at a school with 2,000 students is not the easiest thing in the world to do. And you got to manage parents, and you got to manage students, and you got to manage coaches, and you got to manage teachers, you got to manage janitors. You got to deal with higher level stuff and be at principals meetings. And, also in our parish, people don't realize this. Our principals are our athletic directors. So he is our athletic director too. Okay. So a little different setup over here. So it's a lot of stuff that Mr. Poole has to do, and he does it well. And like I said, I can't say enough about the opportunity that he's given me to try to lead this program and the support that I get from him to do the things that we need to do. If I want to hire somebody, then we try to make it happen. I mean, it's been outstanding. He's really a great leader and a great person to work for.
Before I ask you about these new coaches in Louisiana, another famous graduate, class of 74, the Louisiana Supreme Court, Marcus Clark, is a Sulphur High School graduate. Coach,
did not know that.
Want to mention, what do you think, first of all, Coach Kelly, coming from Notre Dame to LSU?
I've coached a little bit at the college level, so I know how that business works at that, and it's changed a little bit since I've been at the Division I level. It's definitely turned into an even bigger business. And so, part of being successful in this day and age is with social media and everything like that, is making sure that you do things that the fans see as big and great for the program. I think obviously Brian Kelly coming into LSU, coming from Notre Dame, probably the best hire based on resume that LSU's ever made.
I agree with that.
And I know that, if you look at it like that, I think he's done a pretty good job from what I'm seeing of hiring assistant coaches. Once again, he's had to come in there. They've gotten rid of some people. Some people, kind of get perturbed with that and those kind of things. But at the end of the day, I even feel like this at our level. If you don't have your guys with you, if you don't have guys that are bought into what you're trying to do, and you're having to always coach the coaches to do what you want them to instead of having guys in place, it becomes tough. So I think he's doing a really good job of getting his people in place and trying to get his culture in place. And I think for LSU, from that standpoint, it's a really good hire. Definitely, like I said, resume-wise, it's probably the biggest hire. Not probably, it is the biggest hire that LSU's ever made. Even when Nick Saban came here, Nick Saban had been at Michigan State. Not a lot of people knew who Saban was.
Right.
He was. They were floating around average on certain seasons at Michigan State, so it wasn't the splash hire. Now it turns out, it's Saban. I mean, turns out it was a great hire. But coming in, just looking at it from a resume standpoint, this hire with Kelly is probably the biggest that LSU's ever made.
And speaking of principals, he's like a high-end principal. He's good at running things, like you said. Kelly's good at putting everything together, knowing how to recruit, knowing how to hire people, knowing how to run the whole show like a principal. Has 100 people that he's got to make sure everything, and he's good at that. And I think moving forward, talking about UL, Coach Michael DeSarmo, who played quarterback at UL, was at Catholic in New Iberia as a football player. He's one of theirs, as they say. He's one of the Cajuns, former player. What do you think of him taking over for Billy Napier?
Well, that's my alma mater, and I went back there and worked for Ricky Bussell for a couple of years in 2003, 2004. Yeah. Michael came in as a quarterback right about after that time. I left to go to Redemptor's High School as offensive coordinator. After that, Michael was obviously an outstanding football player for UL. But the biggest thing I'll tell you about Michael DeSimo, he used to be the head coach at Ascension Episcopal, so I kind of got to know him then. And he's an outstanding guy. And I really, 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 really hope that, they have and maintain or even build upon the success that they've had, because he's just a great person. He's a great person, a great guy. Obviously, he's a heck of a football coach. It's his alma mater. He's going to take pride in doing those things there. But his character and who he is, to me, trumps everything else about that hire. And so hopefully, they maintain or even build upon the success that they've had. And I look for big things out of Coach DeSimo. Yeah,
he is a great guy, one of the nicer guys in the business in college coaching. I want to mention in your backyard, the McNeese State Cowboys hired Coach Goff from Valdosta State. I don't know, Coach. Actually, you helped me with a number the other day, talked to the O-line coach. I know they've already been to your office recruiting your kids. But what do you think of Coach Goff coming from Valdosta State to McNeese?
Well, obviously, they had a lot of success at Valdosta State. They were in the Division II national championship game. They've won a lot of games there. Definitely, a good hire for McNeese. We'll see how it goes. He brought in all of his own guys. There was nobody kept. And once again, him and I talked about that in my office the other day. You got to have your people. You got to have people that buy into what you're doing and believe in what you're doing. There's a lot of good coaches out there, that, people say, well, why don't he hire this guy or hire that guy or whatever? But just because somebody's a good coach doesn't mean they mesh with a staff or mesh in the philosophy of what that head coach is doing.
Yeah.
So he brought all his guys with him from Valdosta. They're hitting the road running. They were in my office the other day. I can say that comes across as a very personable guy. Seems like very down to earth. Just wants to get out there and hit the ground running. I think they're going to have some success, like every program in Southwest Louisiana, high school or college. You're kind of trying to come back from the things that have happened between COVID and the hurricanes, compounded on top of that. So they've got their work cut out for them. But I'll tell you what, I was very impressed with him the other day. Just sat down in my office with me, just talking and being personal and getting to know people. And so I was very, very impressed with Coach Goff the other day.
I want to mention, we're almost out of time, but Southern University hired Coach Dooley, who, if you don't know who Dooley is, or maybe you're too young or you don't remember, when I was in the business early on, Coach Richardson, you remember Pete Richardson was at Southern.
Oh, I remember Coach Richardson, yes.
And Dooley was with him for over 12 years. So I thought it was a good hire for Southern to bring back a coach that recruited Louisiana for 12 years, still young enough to be a head coach for many years, and went off to Texas and coached a while. But I think he was a great fit, bringing back someone that's familiar with the SWAC and that conference with Jackson State, with Deion Sanders now, and Grambling has a new coach, and it's a pretty tough conference now for Southern.
Well, they're definitely trying to step everything up a notch, and I don't really know Coach Dooley. I do know that they had a lot of success when Coach Richardson was there. So if he was a part of that success, I could see that them trying to duplicate that and bring those things back into place. And anytime you've got ties somewhere in recruiting, because we all know that at the end of the day, it's about players. Yeah. Players win football games. Players are the ones that make you successful. Without good players, you're not going to be successful. So anything that Southern can do to get somebody in there to recruit those guys, to find the guys that they need to be successful to compete with the rest of the SWAC, that's definitely a plus.
Well, I appreciate you, Coach Chris Towery, being on today, Sulphur High School. We got a lot out there. Like I said, I cheated. I went to Wikipedia and got a couple of those things for the school, but I really enjoyed it. I know you're going to do a phenomenal job. I mean, you're an offensive genius by a lot of coaches. You've been around to where you've got a ton of experience. You're ready for this and at a powerhouse program. Coach, don't hang up. We're going to end the show. Go to lafootballmagazine.com. We're working on our 26-year preview magazine, 26 years. This August, we'll put out our 26th preview magazine for Louisiana Football Magazine, a North and South copy. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.